Hi guys, back again, and we're up to the fifth stage now of our image analysis of Picasso's Weeping Woman, and we're going to be looking at another important factor, which is research, and we're going to be focusing specifically on critical and historical studies, mainly on historical studies. And the reason that's important is because having a historical background of Picasso is going to help you guys to get a bit of a feel for the age and the generation that he grew up in, and what he's responding to, and some of the movements that would have affected his life and affected the way he made art. So let's have a look here. We've got the research and critical historical studies palette here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over now to, I've just looked up here in Wiki, and I'm just looking at some of the facts that would be helpful for me in a teal response paragraph here. So I'm just going to quickly copy this and paste it. Don't worry about using your own words at the moment. This is just the research phase. Sorry about that. Back to here. And I'm just going to plonk that in there. And then I'm going to start to weed it out. Okay, so it's Picasso, that's good. I can get rid of all this rubbish here. Backspace that. Get rid of all that. No Spanish. Spanish, that's important. And I'm just going to sift through, that's important there. They're the dates. He was born 1881 to 1973. That tells us he went through the First World War, Second World War, the Spanish flu, which is kind of pertinent at the moment, Korean War, Vietnam War. Actually, was that Vietnam? Yeah. So it gives us a lot of information about where he's coming from. And we can come through here to Spanish painter, he's a sculptor, he's a printmaker, ceramicist, that's all important, stage designer, poet. So there's all these, it gives you a bit of an insight into his background, that he wasn't just someone who painted pictures, he had a pretty wide lifestyle in the arts. He spent most of his life in France. We can think about what was happening in France at the time, around the First and Second World War. He was regarded as one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, and that's important because he was actually very famous and very rich as well. He's known for co-founding the Cubist movement. That's important. So we're going to look into that word there, Cubist, because that will give us a bit of a clue as to why he paints in this fashion. Constructed sculpture, the development of collage, developed styles, photocubist. So his most famous works, Cubism, are the Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, 1907, and Guernica, which was 1937, same year as this. And that just shows there basically some of the background to what his works were about. Now that's interesting because 1937 is the same year that he painted The Weeping Woman, France. So that might actually give us a little bit of a clue now into what this is all about. So if she's weeping, obviously she's sobbing, and she's in a black gown, could maybe that be a funeral possibly, given the fact that we have the looming Second World War. There's lots of death and destruction, the bombing of Guernica by the Germans and the Italian forces. These are all things now that start to give us some clues and help us to infer what it is exactly that Picasso is trying to communicate to us as his audience. So that's important there. Don't get too complicated with this. Again, like I said, it's just plonking it in there, sort of cutting out all the non-important stuff and then keeping the important stuff. But one of the key words that I want you to look at here is this word cubist, because cubist is a big key in this work here. So we're just going to skip back across over here and we're going to click on, where is it, cubist. There we go, cubist. And what is it? Okay, it's an early 20th century avant-garde movement that revolutionised European painting and sculpture. Wow. Okay, so we need to know about that. So let's copy that, and come back over here. And we're just going to put that in there, like that. Cool. So hopefully from this you can see why it's so important to have historical studies, because now it's given us even more background into this whole thing here. Before, maybe we could have considered this to be a trivial sort of painting, but maybe it could be something that's far more deep in meaning and far more terrifying if you regard the time, the 1937 year that this was painted in. So this is massively helpful in us understanding what Picasso is communicating to his audience. So do that, just do exactly what I've done there. Cut out the non-necessary parts so you can sort of boil it down to the most vital elements. And then after that, we're going to go on to the final stage and we're going to look at answering our question and responding in a 2 paragraph.